Good morning. Welcome to Smart Means Business. Hope you are doing okay. My name is Jerome Paul Sonko. We are into the second hour of the show and clearly taking you through all the business details that matter both locally and internationally from a space that entertains lots of information and of course analytical discussions. This is a show that is dedicated to kickstarting off that discussion and setting the pace for almost every huge business assignment in the world. And of course, Barija Andrew was here early in the morning taking you through the news recap, international news, and updating you more from the press review and giving you tips and quotes that clearly drive your business throughout the day. Well, I'm in here, kickstarting it off here with only 20 minutes to the top of the hour to cross to 9 a.m. It's a very busy morning if you're to look around areas bringing you into the capital in Kampala. Traffic everywhere. But we are here to drive your business. We are on mainstream GoTV channel 394, DSTV is channel 372. If you're just joining us and just watching for the very first time, this is Smart 24 TV where we drive your business, and we do this every single day, 24 hours of non-stop business information. And that is of course what we do, and that is what we are dedicated to giving you every single day. And yes, this is your daily Kickstarter or your business Kickstarter, Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. We are here to drive your business. And of course, the month is still moving on further. It's Tuesday, 18th of October, 2022. How far have you gone with ensuring that you're having everything going well for you? But besides that, speaking of everything going well for you, I will tell you more about investment. And the best way to invest in Uganda now is by using Zabu. Zabu is a platform powered by Altex East Africa, and with the MTN subscribers you can use *292#, and that is the USSD code 1 to register with your NIN, and in after 24 hours you will be ready to invest with Zabu. Zabu says my money, my future. With a minimum of 15,000 Ugandan shillings, you can easily invest in bonds and securities with Zabu. Markets open 8:15 a.m. and close at 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. That only happens during working days, Monday to Friday, and that means these markets are closed during weekends, not only the weekends, but they are also closed during public holidays. So Zabu says my money, my future. It is powered by Altex East Africa. Invest in bonds and securities. It is easy for you to make your money count. That is exactly what you should be doing as an investor or as someone who is highly interested in creating a future that is good for you. But besides that, we also look closely to what is yet to happen. This happens only once every 4 years, and this is a global showpiece of football. No longer a wait, ladies and gentlemen. The world's largest football event is back, and it will definitely be coming to your screens battle after battle, and then you will definitely be feeling the heat. Get a Go Coder at just 25,000 Ugandan shillings, and this comes with a full month of GoTV value and an upgrade to Go. If you want to watch all these matches of the World Cup 2022 Qatar, you upgrade to GoTV Super at 39,000 to watch all the 64 games live and in HD. The terms and conditions do apply. GoTV says GoTV, love it. GoTV is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. Right, besides that, now we head to our topic of discussion this morning, and our topic of discussion is going to be dealing with inflation, a discussion that we will definitely be having. Just recently here, courtesy of the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, in the recent report, the headline inflation of Uganda increased to 10%, up from 9%. And that means Uganda's inflation registered double digits, or double figures is now where our inflation is lying. But speaking of which, was the Bank of Uganda right to increase the central bank rate? This and more is where our discussions are going to be this very morning. Joining me on set, I do have Matovo Moses, who is the spokesperson, the National Economic Empowerment Dialogue, that is NEED Uganda. Many thanks for joining us this morning.
Please, I'm grateful to be here, and along with the management for the opportunity they always allocate us to educate the nation.
Thank you very much.
Good morning to our viewers.
Okay, many thanks for being part of our discussion today morning. First of all, how is the economy moving according to your view?
Actually, it's not moving on well.
Okay.
Everything is stifled. people are just struggling everywhere.
Okay.
And even those you think the so-called haves, they're also struggling either with banks or whatever, but they're struggling.
Okay.
Actually, there's a lot of struggle in the public.
All right.
So the economy is indeed poor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's look at the situation here. The Bank of Uganda is ever increasing the central bank rate to curb inflation accordingly and all that. But this is a question I would simply want to ask most of the people. What does this mean when the Bank of Uganda increases the central bank rate?
Basically, it's one way of reducing money in circulation.
Okay.
It's one way. However, to me, it hasn't worked effectively well.
Okay.
And it has instead deterred development and production.
Okay.
Ever since they began increasing, you see there has not been any single stability in the economy. Remember, when they increase the rate,
okay,
again the commercial banks are going to increase.
Okay.
And in Uganda, the lending rate is basically in the informal sector. Actually, the informal sector takes more than 50% from the banks. But remember, these are the struggling people with no good borrowing habits. These are people who give money and they divert.
Okay.
Okay.
The informal sector.
The informal sector.
Okay.
And actually, our production, our GDP is largely contributed by the so-called informal sectors, the informal sector. So they take a big chunk of that portion in terms of production.
All right.
But now when you look at the rate at which they get money is above 21%. The so-called corporate entities, the big companies, because of their good record in terms of financial management, record keeping, etc., banks find it easy to give them money. And their rate is around 12 to 15%. Okay? But now remember, these are few, and they constitute not more than 20%.
Okay.
Now, the struggling community of the informal sector, their rate is between 21% to 31%. Okay. So, literally that means production is going to be a bit low because these people cannot access freely the credit. And again, another deterrent is we have had a very big internal borrowing by the government. So now, banks find it convenient to give to the government because they know at the end of the day they are going to, they are able to pay. Unlike these people. So, the increase in this CBR affects production. And it affects basically the informal sector.
Let me get you right. The increase of the CBR affects the production.
It translates. It is transferred to these smaller borrowers, basically. So, but now what the Bank of Uganda is trying to do, because when you make it a bit harder for people to borrow, that literally means the finances, the money in the circulation is also likely to reduce a bit. But now, you talked of inflation. We need to digest this. Do we have, what kind of inflation do you have in Uganda? Is it cost push or demand? So now, you would do that if there was a demand pull inflation. In demand pull inflation, it means there's a lot of money. You are now pulling out that money. But now the scenario is different. We see rising commodity prices. So there are shortages. So you have to have large sums of money to acquire something small. So I understand, and this has been a disease in Uganda. We have so many policies that have come up, but they're baseless. They're not based on empirical evidence or data collected. If I could give you an example of parish development model. They started the model, they are pouring money in the public, but National Bureau of Statistics says, please, we don't have enough information. You guys, you are taking the money, but you don't have enough information as to how many people should benefit. Now, this similar thing, and remember when Bank of Uganda is doing some of its activities, they depend on these statistics, which statistics now are not updated. So now, you bring a policy which is not based on on exactly what is happening in the public in the economy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And to what extent would the central bank go on to increase these particular central bank rates? And I need to as well understand the key lending rate and what effects do these have? You didn't mention that this increase of the central bank rate affects production. How does it affect production?
Remember, when you talk about borrowing,
okay,
it is the reallocation of funds from you who have a lot, from the group of people that have a lot,
to the people who don't
to the people with deficit.
Okay.
You understand?
Who are in debt.
Yes. You are in need. You might not be in debt, but
you're in need
need of that money.
Exactly.
And you don't have the money. You need capital, you don't have it. But somebody else is having a lot of capital sleeping down there. Right? So the idea of borrowing is get from the surplus to the deficit. You understand? But now when the interest rate is a bit high, it becomes sort of a deterrent to these borrowers. They are not afraid of going to access this money. So in the end, for example, if I wanted to do maybe milling or whatever, I will not do it because the interest rate is high. I cannot afford it. So before you know, there is a shortage in the supply. How does it end? It ends by now causing the so-called cost push I've been talking about. Okay. And ever since COVID-19, you see, we have always been talking of the shattered chains of production. There was that break, that shake, the so-called shock, the economic shocks. So that the supply chains were disturbed. So therefore, there was a shortage. Okay. So now, when you increase the rate, those who are intending to produce are going to be prohibited. You're going to prohibit the. You're going to limit. Yes, you are limiting the production. Okay. So now that's what we're experiencing now. Okay. So now, when you tell me Bank of Uganda is increasing every day, last time it was 7, now it is 10, and you will find it 15. But it's not going to be a solution. Again, the people who borrow money are not well prepared. Okay. That's why you have a bigger tendency of diverting money. I get money for business, and you find me throwing a party. Because I got, say, 20 million, and I had a birthday party, so I'll use the 2 million. Because economically, financially, I'm not prepared. Okay. So I think what you are asking about the increase in the banking, the CBR, it directly translates to the borrowers, especially the smaller borrowers. Yet we get a lot of production from the so-called informal sector. All right, and if I'm to give you some of these figures, according to the increase of the CBR, Central Bank rate, this very year, or in February, 6th February, Uganda's CBR was at 7.50%. Moving on, fast forward to 7th of May, it switched to 8.5%. Then 7th of June, 7.5%. It did remain the same. Then when we moved to 7th, the month of August, it switched to, that is around 8.5%. Now, as we're moving on, currently, the rate is at 10%. Information coming through 6th October 2022. That was up from 9%. That is in the month of August on 12th. That was the last time the Bank of Uganda had increased this particular central bank rate. Now currently it's at 10.00%. And then also the inflation of Uganda jumped to 10%. That is actually in East double Africa, figures. Uganda has the highest inflation interest rate. Okay. In East Africa, it is the highest, and I understand that translates to stagnation in terms of production, in terms of job creation, in terms of the consumption. So you find the economy cannot perform well because the interest rate is too high. Now, when you have that high interest rate coupled with taxes, high taxation, then you get a problem. All right, now before we head into a break, when you look at increasing the money supply since May to around 256 billion, does the private sector get affected in any way? As I told you, now when you talk about private sector, definitely they get affected. But now you cluster them into two.
Okay.
We said there's the so-called corporate entities, the big companies,
and
also private, and then the small cluster.
Okay.
And who is most affected is the small group, the informal sectors.
Okay.
They are largely affected.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And of course, if you're just joining in, we are looking greatly at inflation. Speaking of which, looking at how we can deal with the inflation in the country, basically looking at the fact that Uganda registered double figures in its inflation. But then there's also an outcry that the Bank of Uganda
actually, I think we need to tell the public, when you talk of inflation, literally, what does that mean?
Okay.
Now, literally, because I want the other person, the ordinary person like me, yes, to understand this. Inflation literally means increasing prices of commodities. And when the prices do increase, you are going to find that a unit money, say 10,000. If I used to use the 10,000 to buy, say, 4 kilograms of posho, now with the 10,000, I can only get 2. So that translates into the weakened pockets that you now have 10,000, but the 10,000 can fetch too little for you.
Okay.
So the purchasing power becomes a bit low. And remember, for you, in terms of earning, you have not increased. But now, you have your 10,000, instead of getting 4 kilograms of sugar or whatever, you are getting 2. Yet you are supposed to use, for example, 4. Okay. So that means you're going to use 20,000 to get what you used to get at the other rate.
Okay.
So that is basically what it means when you talk about inflation. Because people hear inflation, you know. And now in this sense, you are talking about the increasing prices, then weakening the purchasing power.
All right, and if you're to look at closely, Uganda's inflation is rising very fast. Commodity prices as well hitting maximum, and well, fuel prices on the other hand are a bit decreasing, not yet back to 5,000, rather not yet back to 4,000 as it was at the start of the year. But anyway, when you look at the situations, some prices are stabilizing, others not yet so. After the break, we have more discussions. I'm still with Matovu Moses, who's the spokesperson, National Economic Empowerment Dialogue, NED Uganda. This is Smart Means Business.